In this video, I'm going to give an overview of what we're going to cover in the module on caching, uploading an image, and one-to-many relationships. I can start by giving you a run-through of what we're going to actually do in this module. So here's our virtual machine, and I'll put in a latitude of 35.81, longitude of minus 85.46, description, beautiful. Plant name, we'll say oak. Now, one neat thing about this plant name is, in a previous module we did an autocomplete where it would autocomplete after we started typing 3 letters. So one thing we're doing in this learning module is we're caching that information so that if I type in oak 7 different times, it only fetches the information for an oak 1 time. It makes things a little more efficient and a bit more scalable. Good idea for an enterprise application. Next, I'm going to choose a photo and open. And now I'm going to choose upload. And what we'll see is we come to a confirmation page here where we see our Quercus alba white oak, beautiful, and we see the latitude and longitude. And then as we scroll down, we see the picture that I uploaded. So we go full circle here from uploading an image to showing the image. We can also show the image in the database. So if we take a look at phpMyAdmin, we'll notice that we have an additional table now called Photos. And Photos has a one-to-many, or actually a many-to-one relationship with the specimens table. So if we look down here, we'll see we have photo ID 40, and it has specimen ID 39. Now let's go to the specimens table, and in the specimens table we see there's a specimen called 39 with the description beautiful, and the name Quercus alba white oak, and sure enough, 3581 and minus 8546. So we're able to save in 2 different tables with a primary key, foreign key relationship. And that's all part of what we're going to cover in this learning module. A quick look at the Scrum board that we have. Add upload capability for large multimedia files. We're going to start on that, and we're going to finish that. Create a storage location for photos. We're going to start that, and we're going to finish that. Show photos that have been uploaded. We're going to start that. Probably have a bit more work to do, but for this sprint, for at least a confirmation page, we're going to finish that. Associate photos with specimens in the database. We're going to start that. We're going to finish that. That leaves one story, which is resize photos. One task. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to move that task to a new story and go ahead and call the sprint complete. And I actually did a pretty good job here. I mean, not to pat myself on the back, but we did get through almost everything we wanted to in this sprint. So what I can do is just do a new story, and this one's going to be resize photos, because I can see quite a bit that's going to need to happen there. We're going to need to resize photos, but we don't want to slow down our normal server process, so we're going to need to look at tasking things out, like making a queue system so that we can drop photos on a queue. Then we can have a separate program, possibly even on a separate computer, read from that queue, and then process the files, the photos that are noted on that queue. I did something similar previously in a previous class. This is a kind of a hot topic, so it's something I'm hoping to start on after the exam. So the videos we're going to look at, caching in Spring Boot, that's definitely a good one, popular one. Uploading an image, you could use that to upload an image or any other type of binary data. One-to-many annotation, one-to-many relationship in Spring Boot. That's an interesting one because, like a lot of Spring Boot, it's going to do a lot of the work for us. Showing an image in TimeLeaf, and at the very top will be this video that I'm recording right now. Now we have several things that are due this week or in the coming weeks. First of all, because we had end of sprint last week, I'd like you to go through and do a retrospective. I've set up a retrospective board, looks like this. What went well, what can be improved, and action items. I'd like everybody to contribute one thing to each column. Now here's a look at one that we did in a previous semester, previous year as well. And you see that we have a lot of feedback on this from the what went well, what can be improved, and action items as well. One thing to keep in mind is we can't internalize all of this at once, so a good idea is to go back and do some voting. You see this one, what can be improved, communication can be improved. 3 people voted on that. I can click here and I can upvote that as well. When we go back and we take a look at our board, we can look at these items that have been voted on either way, and we can kind of bubble to the top the ones that are the most important. So that's a very healthy exercise and one that I'd like us to get into so that we can prioritize the things that we're going to change the most. Now, scrolling back down, we have a few more things. Exam question suggestions. That's because next week we're going to do an exam. Now, exam isn't meant to be stressful or anything like that. If anything, it kind of gives you a week back because the exam is going to be 50 questions timed for 60 minutes. No lecture during exam. Instead, I ask that you work with your group on your final project as we're getting to that era where the group projects are going to be due fairly soon. So go in there, pop in there, and submit a few questions for the exam, ideally from this week's videos. Additionally, take a look at the last thing that we have here, and I'll tell you what, I'll move that up, keep these guys together. Previous quiz questions, exam practice only, not for a grade. So to study for the exam, good idea here. The exam is going to be a lot of the questions that you've already seen in the quiz pool on your quizzes, and additionally any new questions from this week. So if you want to study, a good thing to do is to look at your old quizzes. After the availability date passes, you're able to go back and see the correct answer and the answer that you submitted. So essentially, that's a lot of correct answers that you'll likely see on the exam. A lot of questions you'll see on the exam come from the quizzes, so the answers from your previous quizzes are also good answers for the exam. In addition, remember that when I do a quiz, it selects 5 questions randomly for you. And the pool of questions is usually somewhere in the 20s, usually 21, 27, somewhere in there. So you don't get every possible question when you take the quiz. But to help out, I've taken selected questions, and that is pretty much anything except for fill in the blank and fill in multiple blanks, because they're harder to grade automatically. But I've taken several questions, and I've put them in this exam practice. So there are over 100 questions here. I can assure you, you're going to see a lot of those on the exam. You can take this is not for a grade. This practice questions is not for a grade. You can take it as many times as you like until it expires. I currently have it expiring on Saturday night of this coming week. So you can take it as often as you want then. And then I'll probably turn the exam on sometime around Sunday. So I don't want the two to overlap. And I also want to encourage you to get a head start on studying. The exam, I mentioned it is time boxed for 60 minutes. Generally, those who use the whole time are students who tend to get D's and F's on the exam. The A's and the B's tend to be done quickly. A and B students tend to submit their exams in about 25 minutes or so. So if you do put a bit of effort into studying, you'll find that your exam will not take as long as it normally would. And then take all that extra time when you'd usually be watching these videos, spend it with your group. Let's go ahead and drive Sprint 3 home. Okay. One more thing that is due this week. Well, we have the quiz, of course, as we always do. And we know the previous quiz questions is not for a grade. You can choose to take that. You don't have to. Retrospective's a good idea. One other thing that is due this week is the Sprint 2 code review. So Sprint 2 code review, very similar to the Sprint 1 review, essentially the same pattern. You can review the same group that you reviewed in Sprint 1, but you do need to create a new branch. If you go back to your original code review branch, it's not going to have any updates that the team has added since the initial code review, and you're essentially code reviewing something you've already code reviewed. So you absolutely positively need a new branch and a new pull request. Don't go back and use the old one. On the other hand, if you want some more experience, you can choose another group to review. Can't be your own, but it can be any other group. Just be sure and let them know so that they can add you as a contributor. This is especially the case if you go back and find that the group you reviewed for Code Review 1 has not done much in Sprint 2, and there's not a whole lot you can learn from doing the code review. If that's the case, seriously take a look at what other projects are doing. So same group, different group, doesn't matter as long as it's not your own group. And remember, if we go to the Assignments tab, you can see the map of all the groups that are out here under Code Review 1, as well as the 6+2 Bearcat IDs. So if somebody asks to join your group or to do a code review on your group, you can go out there and find their 6+2. So several things going on. The lecture time is a little shorter than normal. Usually I shoot for an hour and a half to 2 hours. This one's maybe a little bit less than an hour and a half, just because I know we have a lot of other things going on, the retrospective, the code review, and also the exam practice. So knock those out. Next week, take the exam, get it out of the way. Exam will be available pretty much. I'll make it available Monday through Thursday, but I will have it time boxed so you can only do one attempt. So basically, you have to get it done in 60 minutes, and then it has to be all in one setting. So take it at your convenience, but once you start it, you have to finish it within 60 minutes. So I think that pretty much covers it. After that, we'll have Thanksgiving, and I might have a couple of light lectures on there. Probably won't be a full 90-minute lecture week. We'll see how things go. Week after that, we'll have lectures. Week after that, we will get into our demonstrations and evaluations of each other's groups. So going to be a fun time, even though it's a busy week with Thanksgiving and all that. We're going to have a bit of downtime and a bit of focus time to work on the project, Thanksgiving and also the exam week. Going to be a good time to kind of buckle down and work on that. So looking forward to it. Can't wait to see your projects. Thank you.